Hey, it's your girl Cassie coming to you from the Melanin University. I'm here with my co-host.
Hey, it's your boy Millennium Out.
And this is your girl Godiva Kiki or DeKeisha.
And it's your girl Chelsea, aka Rockin' Them J's.
Okay, and today we're going to talk about, do you all think that our education system cares about black children?
Okay, well, I guess I'll kick this off. No. Hard no. Negative. Negativo, wherever we want to go. I feel as though that black children are policed in the school system just like black people are policed in, the adult world. It's really disheartening because I feel like when it comes to black children, when it comes to consequences for certain things, or we talk about like suspensions or pulling kids out of classrooms for, something as small as not participating or throwing a quote unquote tantrum. I feel like that's forced on black kids specifically a lot more than other kids.
I can agree. And it's minor compared to the other things that they can be doing, like bullying, fighting, tearing up the classroom.
Yeah.
I can't say that because mine just got pulled out of the classroom for tearing up the classroom, so I can't say anything about that.
Well, and also I feel like with the education system, another reason I feel like it doesn't is because of the resources that are put in certain schools. Mm-hmm. I feel as though that because many black children, there is a racial divide in the wealth population in our country. Many of the black children fall along the lower income side. So when it comes to lower income schools where they zone off, all of those black kids are sent to these schools that don't have proper books. They don't have proper trained teachers to, deal with and de-escalate issues. I feel like they don't have proper administration. Also, they don't have proper funding so that they can have extracurricular activities, to put some of the other focus into, whether it's music or just different type of clubs to kind of balance out, and just going to school and being bored at school.
Yeah.
And the sad part is the schools that are able to have the activities, it's because the parents are putting in a lot of money for them to have these activities. WG Nunn, for example, my kids go there. They ask for a lot of parent participation, as in donating items, whether it's for the classroom, even for the STEM nights, literacy nights. It's a lot of donations that go into it. Along with what I've been told, it's a lot of teachers that put in their money themselves just to fund these activities. And STEM is a big deal now because, everything is based upon mathematics, technology, engineering, anything, reading. A lot of that comes out of parents and teachers, and I think at this point in time where we're at too with the black education system, or just with black kids in the education system, teachers are fed up, parents are fed up. We're going through a hard time right now, whether people know it or not, but I agree. It's a hard time, and teachers are fed up and parents.
It seems like we're still struggling because even if you have teachers and parents coming together and helping out, we still don't have that. Still don't have that funding. It's being cut all the time, daily, or it's being used for things that aren't school related.
Exactly.
Like you notice a lot of arts and music programs are being cut.
Yes.
But somehow football teams get new uniforms or stuff like that.
And I'm a big football person. I feel like, school activities are a big thing in any child's life, black or, whatever race that you are. But I also feel like the proper funding needs to be put in the areas that we're struggling in. It's fine to boost up what we already have, but where we're struggling is where we need to concentrate because, every day there's children, there are children making it, but there's a lot more that are falling than making it.
Because I agree with both of you guys. Well, actually all of you, because I feel as though that when it comes to the school systems, they're being run more like businesses versus being run I think a school would be run. I feel like you said, Cassie, a lot of the money is going towards football. We live in the Deep South. Football is like religion. So I feel like a lot of money goes into that because football makes them a lot of money every year.
Yeah.
It does.
The arts programs, they're not going to be making them dollars like that. Like, it doesn't happen. So that's why it's easy for them to cut that, because they're like, well, at least if we put this money into the football team, we'll recoup this money. Like, we could get it right back. And that's what's really hurting a lot of education right now, is because we're focused on making money versus educating kids. Because, like Keisha stated, our world is turning into an automated world now. I think that within the next 50 to 100 years, we're probably not really going to have too many of what we call manual labor jobs. Most of the jobs now are in IT and, managing automated systems that do manual labor now. So if you don't have the education to, work a computer or learn computer language, then you're not going to survive.
And still in that same thing, it's like, when they're spending money on football, they're not buying textbooks. What's the point of a football player who can't read? He can't.
And that's the thing. A lot of them can't read. That's the crazy part of it.
And that's the sad part. They get all that funding, but they don't give it to tutors to tutor those boys. Oh, there's so many issues going along with that right here about Austin itself. Honestly, coaches getting fired for. A little digress from that.
Yeah, that's another topic. But I do feel I agree with you, Cassie, because it's like if we're just specifically focusing on Black children, you have these beautiful Black kids who are out here performing for these people every Friday night, but none of these kids can read, or none of these kids can do basic math, and they're just passing these kids so that they can perform on the field, and I think that's a huge disservice.
If I'm not mistaken, was that Bush in office, No Child Left Behind?
I remember
that ruined a whole lot when it came to education, and that's really ruined a lot of the curriculum. A lot of teachers, you'll see it in daycares, like, getting started for pre-K, getting started for kindergarten. They do, it's hard to say that, and I don't want to offend any teachers or anybody that's ever worked hard for where they're at. I never want to discredit, but it's still the bare minimum. And we all know that all children do not learn the same. But it's the bare minimum. And then they expect I don't know. I just know when I was growing up, I know my mom and dad helped me. But I remember doing phonics and everything else in school. These kids do not learn phonics. Like, who the hell does not learn how to blend?
Right.
And that's actually one of the points I was going to bring up, because if you guys don't know, we also operate on Facebook. And I posted a post asking the question that we asked earlier. One of our white counterparts, they came, and their point was that they feel as though the education does care for Black children. They went into the education system cares for all children, was that all lives matter type bullshit. But basically what they're stating is that it's more of the responsibility for kids to learn at home versus kids learning at school. And the issue that I have with that is my rebuttal to that was, how do you expect children to learn certain things at home if their parents didn't have those resources either? Like, you can't pull orange juice from tree bark. Like, it doesn't work that way. Like, there has to be an orange there. And the thing about it is, if children aren't able to learn at home, which is the basis of the school system in general, because before, kids were just working. And then parents, they weren't necessarily educated, so our government came up with the idea, we should have public schools. The whole point of public schools was to educate children because their parents couldn't teach them at home.
And keep in mind, it's a lot of single mothers in this generation. So you tell me I have to work 40 hours every week, along with spend 2 to 5 hours for my 2 to 3 kids and help them with homework, and still cook, clean, have a social life, make sure my kids have a social life. You're really tackling on, I know it's a 2-parent job. We all know this by now. But even with 2 parents, we all know it takes extremely.
And also, it takes a village. And when that means a village, that means the school system. That means family. That means everybody included that's in that circle right there along. I feel like, yes, it does stem from home, but also it needs to be the work of the teachers as well.
Exactly.
Like, there's some teachers here that aren't so there's different curriculum that we know that it's in every it's different in every state and every on the West Coast, East Coast, North, South, wherever you're located. In the United States, it's all different. One of my friends, she's Caucasian, but her kids were they were in Ohio, but they were in a predominantly white school.
Yeah.
Now they live in Alabama. Mm-hmm. They didn't teach Black history up there where they were. So coming down into a school that was predominantly Black, and then they're given a subject, which I don't understand why a Black teacher would give this type of actual subject, because I believe it's going to bring controversy. It's going to bring that separation and start an issue.
What was the subject?
The subject was they separated the class, and they wanted one part of the class to argue about why segregation is needed, and the other one was why wasn't it?
Ooh.
And I feel like
I don't understand.
Her son was white, and he refused to do it because he felt like it was wrong, but he was on the side where he had to argue it when it was right. He knew it wasn't right, but he didn't want to argue, and then he stopped, and then I guess, he's been getting some kind of, I wouldn't say racial slurs. He was just being called a racist because he didn't want to participate in the actual study itself.
My thing is, if he actually would have participated, him being white and arguing for segregation being right
would have made it worse.
Would have made him a target too as well.
Well, yes. I hear what you're saying, but also at the same time, I feel like that, to me, is a great exercise for two reasons. Whether you agree with something or not, having the ability to argue for or against it teaches you how to have discussion. It teaches you how to think from another person's point of view. So I think that's good in its sense. And then I also think it's a good topic because whether it creates controversy or not, a lot of Black topics aren't taught in school because people don't want to rock the boat. People don't want to have those controversial conversations because it's going to make white kids uncomfortable. I feel as though these conversations need to be had because we're not going to get anywhere if white people don't understand where we're coming from. And they're never going to understand where we're coming from if we can't openly have a discussion. If we can't openly have a discussion, because I feel like a lot of Black people play respectability politics and they want to bring up Black issues, but they want to bring it up in a way that it's not too much for, the white people to deal with. It's like, no, this is what happened. I mean, way back when, even though it wasn't you, I wasn't getting respectability politics, or my ancestors weren't getting respectability politics when they were picked up and thrown in a boat and brought over here. So I don't feel as though that I need to placate to that just for you to learn it. And I think that's completely a disservice that, around the country, that Black history isn't taught, because Black people are an instrumental part of the country, and I think it's ridiculous to not educate even white children on Black people, because how are they going to know how to interact?
Yeah, and that's what I guess his mom was trying to take. I feel like, it's a great exercise, but I feel like if it's done in a manner where it can be talked about without raising, I don't care about hurting anybody's feelings. It's all about if it can be done constructively. And I feel like making someone argue about why segregation is right, and it's a white person at that. I feel like that would have caused an issue because, it didn't matter what they had to say. It's going to be frowned upon from his peers wise just looking at it. But that's why I feel like there was another healthier way to do it except doing that.
I agree with that.
I can see if it was a predominantly Black class doing it.
I agree with you in a sense of understanding that you want it to be constructive. However, I feel like we're not giving the Black kids enough credit, because if it's explained to the classroom that we're splitting up the class, no one said it was between races. We're splitting up. Half the class is going to argue for segregation. Half the class is going to argue against segregation. I feel like Black kids are smart enough to understand that, hey, this is an exercise in class. I feel like they are smart enough to know that.
But I don't, all children that are Black, no matter what, they're going to look at that in another light. I can tell you kids this day, they'll sit there and be like, I don't care if it's a school class. I know what they're arguing with me. And just because they're another race, that's going to give them the power to be like, you know what? Oh, they're racist, they're doing this, and it's not necessarily that they are. They were just put in that position to argue that fact. There's nothing wrong with arguing about it. I just feel like kids these days, they're mean. regardless of what race they are.
I wouldn't say mean. It's like
they're a lot
cautious of things.
I feel like kids these days are a lot meaner than what they were when we were going to school.
When you see police shootings on the TV, you have these kids you got kids that have to go deal with this. Shootings at schools, shootings in the public. You see black men, women getting killed.
Well,
I feel like we see a lot more now because of social media in that aspect.
Right, that's what I was about to say. I feel like as far
when we were
that's why I said like these days they're naturally cautious of everything. Like you have to be careful of certain things.
I don't think it should have been a topic, honestly. Honestly, I could see segregation being a topic in college. High school or anything less than that, don't bring it up. Don't.
I feel like it needs to be talked about, but just not in a debate form like that.
Here's the thing. The only issue that I have with what you're saying, Keisha, is we can't expect... We sit here, we've spoken on the show before, we want Black history taught year-round and all of these things in school, but we can't expect Black history to be taught and not talk about those things. Because...
that respectability, like you said.
Right. I feel like we can't deviate from those topics just because they're uncomfortable.
No, I feel like we shouldn't deviate from them. I feel like they should just be discussed in a manner where everyone can take it and actually, but it's a healthy wise. It's not like, I feel like no matter how they treated us, I feel like we all like what is it Gandhi or Martin Luther King that said that we just need to, no violence? What was it that you just need to get yourself out? Whatever you're producing out, like you're trying to protest, make sure that it's healthy, even if you're not giving it back. And it's just having the respect for our culture to have it delivered that way, because we were not always perceived in that eye. We were always the mad, outrageous, always showing out.
We were Gandhi and Martin Luther King.
No, I'm just talking about what we were posted, how we were projected it, like back in the day and even now, because
that's why the Malcolm X and Black Panther Party is coming out again.
I personally, I don't agree with that. Not Malcolm X, but Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King was highly for nonviolence, but a lot of things that we don't talk about are the rest of the teachings that Martin Luther King had.
Yeah.
Martin Luther King, he wasn't for violence initially, but he was definitely for talking about issues and putting them up front, whether people were comfortable with it or not. Yeah. Now, I understand some people, if you get called a racist, it's jarring. I get it. If you produce racist activities or you do all this other stuff and you get called a racist, okay, sad for you. But at the end of the day, I don't feel as though respectability politics are going to get us anywhere. I don't feel like that has gotten us too far, because the only thing that's happened now is that most racists are not really racist to your face anymore. They're being what I would consider respectable racist. They're going to do it behind your back. They do it with laws. They do it with policies. So, like, one policy that wrapping this around to the education system, Black young women. It saddens me that just now there are laws getting passed that you can't discriminate against natural hair. There have been Black women and Black young women sent home on suspensions just for wearing their natural hair. Yep. Which is ridiculous, because they were told it was a quote unquote distraction.
Can't come to work,
but it's their hair.
Even because of their hair.
And there's and I can understand, you don't want no loud color like blues, reds, and stuff like that, natural hair colors. That's one thing.
Some kids,
but if your hair is naturally that color,
right,
and you have it in that form, like braids, dreads, no matter, you should be able to freely wear that. And if it has to be up in the hairnet, it can be up in the hairnet. If it doesn't have to be, then I'm not breaking any rules.
What's that saying? Don't judge a book by its cover. We get judged all the time by our cover, never for what's inside of us. If that's where it leads to for me.
Yeah, so that's why I feel like the education system, it doesn't care for Black children, because
or any minorities at that fact.
Because I want to stick specifically with Black people, because what happens when we get into these people of color conversations, they try to rope us all in together. And racist policies are done by people of color all the time.
Yeah.
Asians, Latinx people, their ethnic group, I understand that they face discrimination on a daily basis, but at the same time, anti-black stuff has nothing to do with them.
It doesn't.
Unless you are a black Latino, it has nothing to do with you, because your Latino daughter or your Asian daughter is not getting sent home because she wore her afro to school. It's not happening.
More than anything, they probably get sympathy because they might not speak the language. And I see this a lot too. The parents don't speak the language, the children do. I feel like they get a little bit more leeway. You're right. They get more leeway because of certain circumstances. That's crazy.
I think I know
we've been here for that long.
Grants because they came over from a different country. And
there are grants and things that are happening, but also I really don't want to get into conversation about immigrants. But with black children in the education system, it just seems that everything about blackness is being policed.
It's targeted.
It's targeted, yes.
Ooh, and then I'm gonna even break it down further. If you don't notice by now, even in the black schools, black girls are praised more than black boys. I don't like it. Why do we sit up here and push? I love black women, don't get me wrong, and I know we're strong. I love little black girls. We're strong. But why are we not building up our black boys in these education systems the same way? Why are they the ones behind reading level? Take a survey out of how many black boys compared to black girls can read on school level. Like, let's be honest. Most black girls read on school level. Majority of them do. Ask how many black boys read on school level. Or grade level, as they call it. Not many. And that's a big problem for me. And it's like destroying the black boys. It's taking away our black men once again. It's they evil with this one.
They're evil. I agree. I agree
with that.
Evil.
Because you'll notice that they're pushing like a lot of black. Some schools are pushing black girls toward like STEM things, but you'll see most of them trying to push the boys towards sports. Like you don't need to do this.
Okay, and y'all tell me if I'm crazy or not. But I thoroughly believe that sports is nothing but new age slavery.
Yeah, it is for our children.
And sports is nothing but an auction sale.
Yes.
I feel like these black children are put up, they're like built up, engineered during school to be these professional athletes, and then they get thrown up to the auction box and like, hey, buy them.
Because they're worth this much.
Right.
And ask how many black boys after they graduate, what they really want to do with their life. And you wonder why you see so many little black boys around here just walking around not knowing what to do.
Because my thing is you have so many that were players. So they played basketball, football. But they did not have the grades to go to college.
Right.
Because they couldn't even read
to
do the placement test. Or SAT.
I feel like as a black community, though, we all need to come, and especially the schools, too. You don't have to be a football player. You don't have to be, like, just any sports player to actually make it. Like, be a doctor, a lawyer, or somewhere where you can actually make a difference. Right. Like, you don't have to, like, there's so many people that you can help rather than, and I feel like the schools are just pushing black boys into one. Okay, you're going over here, you go over here, you go, and it's just one or two things.
But
I will say one benefit to being a basketball, football player is those who can read and everything. They can get scholarships to go where they need to go. Yeah, to be doctors, especially if they can't get that money.
Yeah, I don't want to take that away because I think that is a great tool because like I said earlier, if we're talking about the socioeconomics, most of the lower income areas are black and of course different minority areas. So many black people don't have the additional income to just pay for their kids to go to college. Yeah. So I think that's a great thing. But like Chelsea said, I feel like I want them to treat black kids like they treat white kids. White kids are presented, hey, you can be anything that you want to be. You have options. Black people are told, you could be a great entertainer. You could be a great athlete.
You can be a comedian.
Right. And I also feel like the reason it's like that as well, and black kids don't see it, is because they don't see themselves teaching them. I really think that we need to hire more black teachers.
More black men in the school
and black
systems.
men.
I need them.
Yes.
In life. period. More black.
But then that also stems, like, you know, and we know that not a lot of teachers get the salary that they deserve.
Ooh,
and I feel like all teachers that actually like that put in hard work all the time, you need to have a raise. Like,
I want to say a raise at just
or at least, but at least give them the funding. Like, at least give the schools the funding, because like at the same time, like, even though we're parents and stuff like that, and we go to work and stuff like that, they have our children every day. If anything, they're learning from them as well as learning from us.
The only issue that I have with that, well, not really an issue. I agree with you. I agree that teachers definitely need to be paid more. But I think the primary issue with black kids specifically in the education system is that the people that are teaching them, many of them come to the classroom already with their personal biases.
Yep. Yes.
So I feel like that is the issue. Like, if we want to talk about specific examples, like one of my younger sisters, it was her 6th grade year. She had a teacher, and she actually liked him for most of the year. They got along, and then all of a sudden he started treating the black kids in her class like really weird. You know, they would just get in trouble for like little stuff, and you know, at first it was like, okay, whatever, we'll just behave. And then one day he said something that was kind of weird, and my mother has always asked us to like ask questions when we were younger, so that actually got us in a lot of trouble. So she asked him what he meant by that, and he actually turned around and told her to be quiet and called her a monkey.
Oh. Ooh.
So these type of people are in the classroom dictating how your children learn.
Ooh, like the Boondocks with Riley, and he say, well, Riley says nigga, so nigga, what's up?
And then you have some teachers that will actually tell you, hey, I'm just here to collect my paycheck.
Yep, but another thing is, believe it or not, I've learned a whole lot, because my son has an IEP, honestly. But I'm hoping that my son...
Oh, what is that?
IEP is basically like a...
it's an individual...
It's an individual
education
plan.
Oh, okay.
And so they basically set markers for what he should meet every year, or not even every year, every 9 weeks or every semester, however you want to break it down. But 9 weeks is what they call it. So that's good for me, considering my son's learning disabilities and so forth. And I'm fine with it. And I know there's a lot of things that he can be pushed harder at, but still, I don't like the simple fact I go to the doctor's office and the doctor says something like, oh, well, his IQ is not going to be, you don't know what my child's IQ is going to be. He's a child. He is still learning. You will not take away my child's learning process. And even as he gets older, guess what? He's still going to learn.
No matter how fast he gets it or not, he's still going to try to learn.
And all of us do not learn at the same pace. We all do not learn the same way. Do not take away our child's given abilities, and they act like it just does not matter. They want everybody automated school system.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's with the IEPs. I actually like that idea. I wish it was actually more. I wish we had the resources to make it more of like a mainstream thing. Because one of the things I really never liked was, even though I personally was good at it, I never liked standardized learning or standardized testing. Because I feel like children learn completely different, and I feel like especially black children coming from a different culture, they learn completely different. And I feel as though if we have people that are in place that they can relate to, then, you know, there's a better chance of children actually learning from that. I mean, like, even with you, I'm assuming your child's doctor is the person, like, non-black?
Non-black, you're right.
Okay. Like, I feel as though when it comes to professionals that we have in our day-to-day world, we rarely see people that represent us. Like, I got super excited when I found out my eye doctor was a black woman.
Shout out to Dr. Pegues in Las Vegas, because she's a wonderful black doctor for the optic gallery. Like, she got my vision on straight. So, you know,
because they care about us versus,
and we can better relate to them. They understand. We feel more comfortable.
My kid's pediatrician is black, and I love her.
I need to switch mine.
And it's not that we don't. It's not that
her. It's not even her just being black. It's just I feel like she really cares about my kids because She's really dedicated.
You speak positivity versus the negative. And that's what I don't like about...
She even has a book.
The main reason why I do like my kid's doctor is because she's been around so long that she knows certain things when she sees it. Mm-hmm. And she always tells me, well, don't worry about it because it's X, Y, and Z. I never have a problem with her diagnosis with a lot of things as far as finding out symptoms and so forth. That's never the problem. But when it came to that and she says, your son's IQ, and I said, no, ma'am. And I digress from that before I get out of hand in this office today.
Now, what I will say,
and I was heated when I got in that
is
car.
that back on the post that was posted up, one of the white teachers that commented under the post, they actually mentioned that they teach hundreds and hundreds of kids every day, but they personally never hear of anything going on that negatively affects specifically black children. I found that, and there were a few people that liked it, so I find it interesting that, you know, when it comes to white people, there seems to be like this dissonance there that it's irritating to get past, because when I replied to this person, I said, black children are not going to complain about somebody oppressing them to someone who looks like their oppressor.
That's very true.
It's not going to happen.
And not to discredit them, but they're a music teacher. I know you work with 1,000 or 500 kids daily, but who is going to go to their music teacher saying, I feel oppressed?
or why would I go to my music teacher and say that my sixth period teacher called me a monkey? Yeah,
like unless you have a personal bonding relationship with that child, like you mentor them or something like that, or you've seen something in them that you're trying to get them. Like I can understand in that point, but I doubt you're mentoring 500 children at a time,
right? And
I doubt that they're coming to you saying, you know, my sixth grade teacher called me a monkey. Like, what am I supposed to do with that?
Exactly.
My thing is, with you also teaching hundreds of students, you're more than likely overlooking someone anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah. There's probably somebody crying out that you're not even seeing.
Right.
And this is kind of off the subject, though, but when I think about what's going on in the school systems with the way they teach our kids, once again, like you said, it's kind of like the slavery days almost. We know that they use black men and women for labor and things of that nature. And I feel like they're kind of doing the same thing. Once again, automated kids. They want our black boys to, like you say, they have everything directed for us already instead of just letting us collect our own talents and just show them or display them or our God-given gifts. We're gifted people.
Exactly. I agree.
Gifted.
And have you guys ever noticed that when you look at, we'll call them quote-unquote black schools, but we all know what they look like. Mm-hmm. Do they or do they not look like prisons to you?
They do like prisons.
Oh, walking the line. Now they got to wear uniforms. Oh, my daughter got sent to ISS because she wore a uniform top but without the right color pants. I say she's passing. I know she may talk a whole lot, but really? ISS for a uniform? And not today.
It's crazy to me because I just feel like as kids, like it's getting younger and younger, like they're criminalizing you just being black to this point. Like we were just discussing that story in Orlando, Florida with that young black woman. I believe she was 6 years old. Mm-hmm. She had a tantrum at school. I don't know a 6-year-old who doesn't have tantrums. Yeah. They actually called the police on her, had her arrested, taken to the station. She was fingerprinted. She went through everything.
What happened to calling her parents?
Right. What happened to calling her parents?
I believe they want to collect all the data they can on us too, believe it or not.
Like a 6-year-old being fingerprinted?
Yes.
That's a child.
It's safe to say I won't be raising any children in the state of Florida.
You know, Florida is on some other stuff.
And that's really, believe it or not, trafficking state for young black kids, honestly, especially in the Orlando area. Yeah. And that makes me
Orlando is one high place. Ohio,
you arrest the kids,
Las Vegas.
They go missing.
Now, I've never personally heard of anyone here in Georgia, to my knowledge, being arrested for anything. But I do know here in Georgia, there are a lot of policies to where they just kick kids out of school for the smallest of things. And, you know, that eventually racks up. Then you're missing all this school. Then some people, they want to truant the parents, make parents have charges for their kids not being there, even though they were kicked out. And then they have kids with these records. And now they're trying to throw the kids into alternative school. It's just...
And they know that they're doing wrong. When you try to put a kid in alternative school, knowing that you're giving them the chance to either come to school or not come to school, that's not right. It's not. And then they're barely probably teaching... anything. Yeah. Honestly.
I feel like alternative schools, I understand what their purpose is for, but I wholeheartedly believe their purpose is to prepare kids to go to a prison.
I do. I feel like it is too.
It's not right.
And the prisons are just meant for us to crumble.
It's absolutely...
And go build the wall.
Yes.
The wall that I think ain't even going to be there next year.
It's completely... It's just, for me... To answer our question, like I said, I believe wholeheartedly no. Our education is not here for black children. It's not here for poor children, which are mostly black children, if we want to go into that. But yeah, for me, it's a no.
Yeah, for me, it's a no, because I just don't like how... I know girls learn faster, supposedly, than boys, but still, nonetheless, I still feel like they're not teaching according to each child. And I do believe in Umar Johnson, who believes that we should have more black-funded schools and we teach our own children. I'm all for homeschooling. If I can learn that paperwork process, honestly, I would homeschool. If I got to teach my own kids how to blend letters, blend words, how to add, subtract, multiply, divide, why not go ahead and, hey, instead of y'all cutting the school that check, cut me that check. That's how, honestly.
Mine can go you for math because I'm not that great at it.
Hey,
I mean, that's understandable, but also at the same time, I feel like that it's great to be able to have that control, and if you're able to do that, that's great. I just feel like I want our public school system to be better because honestly, a lot of black parents, they don't have the time and they don't have the energy to play school and also pay the bills. Like it's just completely unrealistic to put all of that on parents because that's what the whole education system was made for.
Especially single mothers and single parents. Both, because we know there are single fathers out here just as well as there are single mothers.
Shout outs to y'all as well, single fathers.
And as parents, we actually laid the foundation because we're the ones that, teaching them ABCs. We teach them, their numbers before they even start school.
Colors.
Yeah,
and then there's I know that there's some parents that, they're constantly working because they are single parents that they don't even have time to teach their children just the basics. I know a lot of children that I've seen grow up just like other children were advancing before them because they haven't had the time set down with them. Like, it does start at home, but I mean, most of it does come from the school system. Like, we can only do so much, and then we have to send you off to school so that you can learn the stuff that that we learned. But they always learn different things. Like, my dad was always looking at I think my mom looked at my homework one time, and she was like, "What is this?"
But what's the point of paying for daycare, childcare, pre-K?
Yeah, because that's actually their
basis from to pay for it.
That's actually another question that I wanted to go into before we wrapped up and stuff is with the parents here. How expensive is it to have those type of programs like daycare, like pre-K, or if you have to pay for, I don't know,
and without assistance.
And then also, if you could also add on, how expensive is it to have after school care? Like if you decide to put them in a program or something.
Who wants to go first?
If you want to be nice, depending on $100 a week per child.
Yes,
that's $400. How much is rent about also?
Depending on what area you're in. It could be more than your rent.
Wow.
Yes. It really can. So you expect for me to pay rent or a mortgage, car note, utilities?
Like Cassie, think about how much for daycare for the
newborn start at like $160 for a newborn for a week.
And you have to bring diapers.
You have to provide diapers, wipes, formula,
breast milk, whatever. Do they bring breast milk?
So where's all the extra money going besides you watching my child and making sure they're safe? And now we know, and now the state of Georgia has some problems with daycares here because everybody been beating on these kids in daycares.
Well, the reason I asked was because one of our people said I brought up that the responsibility is on parents, and that's crazy to me That is absolutely crazy to me that it costs that much just to have.
And that's if you don't have funding. Like if you don't have, like if you like live below a certain income, there are certain programs that are out there to help you. But let's just say, like, I know some parents get that funding cut just because they work too many hours, but they have to work that amount of hours just to be able to survive, to put food on the table. But all their stuff is being cut. Now, I mean, this is completely off subject, but we all know that, you know, some people abuse the programs and other people aren't. But I feel like they're in place to help if it's the right criteria and stuff like that. But I feel like every parent, I feel like there should be certain funding that's just set, like no matter if you, no matter the hours that you work, like if it's shown that you need the actual help, then you should have that help. It shouldn't be cut.
Me personally, I just feel like that should be automatic, like for the school. Like if your child goes to public school, whatever the school hours are, I personally feel like, because most schools get out around 3 o'clock or so.
Yeah, a lot of people
like I just feel like most schools should have an automatic after-school program to where they keep them to at least 5 or something.
Yeah, and
like,
they can do tutoring.
Right. Like
if anything,
they have one after-school program. It's like what, $35 a week for your kid to go after school, but they only keep it to like 6. They give them like 6.
Boys and girls club and certain you're right, certain daycares and stuff. But I can see that.
Or latchkey. That's where we used to go after school. I remember when I was young.
Because I know a lot of people make the argument, well, teachers already work a full day and they don't want to be there extra hours.
You can hire teachers just for that.
That's what I'm saying. You can hire people.
There's substitute teachers always looking for work.
Also, you can look at volunteer teachers. There are plenty of older people that are retired teachers that just want to volunteer to do stuff.
Right, yeah.
Like, I feel like it definitely can be done, especially if, you know, these schools, if we're speaking specifically here, these schools can spend multi-million dollars every year to rebuild this thing or to build a new football field.
Or to buy up some property that they didn't need in the first place.
Period.
Like, okay, I have an issue. I don't know why the issue brought out the Dollar Theater, because I've really been mad about that this whole time. Like, on a lighter note, like, I like paying $1 to go see some movies. Like, I saw the last Twilight there. That was reminiscent to me. Like, I was just like...
But, I just feel like there's a lot of money that could be used for actually educating children.
Yes. And older teachers, I will say, have the knowledge to know what they're dealing with kids, with how their learning ability goes. 9 times out of 10, they've already seen it in their course of 20, 30 years of teaching.
Yeah.
Let them be I agree. After school providers and tutor, they can dissect what's going on with your child, even if the teacher in the classroom is not able to. And I also have a thing too. Young teachers, I'm kind of for it. You got to kind of have like some firmness and a no with dealing with these kids nowadays. Like, you just have to, I feel like. I can't say I'm for young teachers.
This is the thing. I feel like kids now are no different from kids how they were. I feel like now it's just more visible, like Chelsea said earlier, with social media and things. But I don't feel like kids are worse now than they were before. And I feel like if teachers back then could handle a classroom, teachers now can handle a classroom.
And I would say I actually like the idea of young teachers because they can kind of relate more to the students now.
Yes.
So I like that idea.
My favorite teachers were the younger ones.
Because they can relate more to us.
I like the substitute teachers because most of my subs were young. All the teachers that I actually had growing up, they were actually older. Except when I was in high school, I had like a mixture. I had some of them that were like 37 and stuff like that. And they were really cool. Like, I mean, most of the teachers at my high school, like, they're the reason why I graduated, because, like, especially my science teacher, like, he sat there with me, I think, after I graduated, like, because a lot of people don't know this, but I didn't even pass the graduation test my last time taking it. They still let me walk, but I went and took, like, that summer, I passed the test, and I had to go, like, you know, those school sessions that you take, and then you take the test or whatever. So he was there, and he helped me with that. Like, that's the only reason that I was able to pass, because that science was hard.
That's always the hardest.
The science is hard for graduation.
But that's good that they took the extra time to, you know.
Yeah, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, because with me,
a lot of kids don't get that.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. With me, you know, I had actually way younger teachers. You know, most of my teachers were in their mid 40s, 50s. But a lot of my teachers in high schools, they were like in their late 20s.
Some of them fresh out of college.
Right. And I actually learned a lot from them. Mm-hmm. But basically with us, we're going to wrap it up there. Mm-hmm. And we're going to go ahead and head into our Black Note of the day. Today we're going to be talking about Dr. Shirley Jackson. Dr. Shirley Jackson is an American physicist who received her PhD from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology in 1973. She was the first African-American woman to earn a doctorate, and she received it in nuclear physics at MIT. In addition to her lengthy list of academic achievements, she also has an impressive number of inventions under her belt. She has the invention, she participated in the invention of the touch-tone telephone, the portable fax, caller ID, caller waiting, and also had a hand in the fiber optic cable, which we love because that's where our high-speed internet comes from.
Yes.
So let's celebrate this woman's black girl magic, because without her, we would be waiting for a long time with dial-up.
We definitely would.
Okay, guys. Well, we're just starting off the conversation. So if you have any comments, definitely throw those below the video. Like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you can always get notified when we're loading up. And we'll see you next session. Peace.